Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the NitPickCentral podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and with me, as always, is your co-host, Zach.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I'm very excited to be here.
Oh,
Obviously, I'm a permanent part of the show, but still pretty excited to be here.
Oh yeah, of course. This podcast
Pretty
mainly...
psyched. Oh, go.
No, you're good. This podcast
psyched.
mainly centers around us reviewing or giving our takes on stuff like movies, TV shows, trends, and whatever else we might want to talk about. And today, as you can probably tell by the title, we are going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. This movie has quite the history behind it, to say the least. It really all started, I guess, with Man of Steel, if you really think about it, because that's what started off Zack Snyder's journey with DC. Or at least with the DCEU, I should say. And yeah, like that movie came out back in, like, what was it, 2013, right? 2013?
I think it was... Here, I'll look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure it was 2013.
Yeah, I want to say... I know it was... Yeah, it most definitely was, because that was the year after Avengers came out.
Yep, you were right. 2013.
Yeah. So, Man of Steel came out, got mixed reviews, so Zack Snyder's reputation was already starting to, like, dwindle with the general audience. Of course, he has his, like, super hardcore fan base, and that's all good. But, again, like, the general audience and everything got kind of mixed reviews on Man of Steel. Then a couple years later, Batman v Superman comes out, and that movie was very polarizing as well. Got a lot of mixed reviews. Not many people liked what they did with Batman. Again,
I was
people
gonna say
weren't the
there
biggest
was
fans.
a lot of controversy surrounding that movie.
Oh yeah,
when it came out.
Oh yeah, and not many people liked where the story went, and again, people were pretty mixed on the Superman dilemma. Personally, I think he's the best Superman actor there's ever been. But I mean, I haven't watched any of the older Superman movies, but I mean, just based off what I've seen and what I've read, like, I think Henry Cavill just embodies the character better than anyone else who's ever, like, tried.
Like, if he's kind of the equivalent to Robert Downey Jr. in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he was kind of born to play that role. Yeah. Because although I've seen him in other movies, such as like spy movies, I do not remember what movie it is that he's in, but he's in some sort of here. You know what?
Wait, are you talking about Henry Cavill?
A fool out of myself. Yeah.
Oh, he's in Mission Impossible. Is that what you're thinking of?
There you go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, before I make a fool out of myself. Yeah. He was in that movie, but every time I see him in other works of fiction like that, I see Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Superman. It's kind of like when I watched Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., I'm like, all I see is Iron Man. You know what I mean? Tony Stark.
Yeah. Like, there's just some people who are, like you said, born to play certain roles, and they just hit it out of the park.
Like... I
grew
up with Superman Returns when I was a kid. That was my all-time favorite movie growing up. And that was who was that? Brandon R.
Okay.
I can't pronounce his last name, and I'm sorry if I butcher this if you ever end up watching this, but it looks like Brandon Routh. I grew up with that movie. That was my Superman. That movie came out roughly around 2005, 2006.
Oh.
But we never got any other forms of Superman after that, because once that movie came out, that was it. And then Man of Steel happened and kind of kicked off the DCEU.
Yeah.
In a interesting way, I guess you could say. But yeah, personally, I still think Henry Cavill, best Superman.
Yeah. Personally, I know for a fact I can't really give an opinion on Man of Steel just because, like, I've seen it once, and
Same.
I'm pretty sure that's when it first came out. So I have no room to talk when it comes to that movie. But BVS, on the other hand, I think it is aesthetically like a really good movie, kind of like The Last Jedi in a way, where everything sounds good, everything looks good. It's just the story and the characters is where my biggest hangups are. You know?
Oh yeah, like I totally agree on that.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so BVS came out again, really polarizing movie. And so around the time when they were shooting Justice League, like Zack Snyder's Justice League, unfortunately, Zack Snyder went through a horrible family tragedy in his life, in the fact that his daughter committed suicide, which our condolences 100% to Zack Snyder and the rest of his family. Yes. That is horrible thing that anyone could go through. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows this at this point, but at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, there is a little title card that says "For Autumn." He dedicated the movie, like finishing the movie, not only for the fans, but for his daughter, which I think is really, really quite something.
It's very heartwarming if you understand. Like everybody besides you, obviously, Andrew, that's seen the movie because you watched it with me.
Yeah.
Everybody that I either work with or interact with outside of the podcast here, every time I see them, they always ask me, "Who is Autumn?" Like, because they watched the Justice League, and they're obviously not as big of a nerd. I'm gonna admit we're pretty big nerds.
Oh yeah.
Over this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But they always ask me who's Autumn, and there for a hot minute I had a brain fart and couldn't remember who it is. Mm-hmm. But I told them exactly what you said. It's Zack Snyder's daughter.
Yeah.
And then I explained what it was for and everything, and it's just, it's nice to see that at the end, because not a lot of people do that kind of stuff anymore. Because corporate Hollywood doesn't really allow that anymore. Like for directors to put their personal touch at the end of movies very much anymore, because it has to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm. You see it every now and then, but again, like it's nothing like out there,
Yeah. Agreed.
But so in the wake of this happening, again, like Warner Brothers' confidence in Zack Snyder was already dwindling. And so in a way, like from everything that I've seen, like both on Twitter, like from what Ray Fisher has said and other reports that I've read over the years, WB basically took advantage of the situation and allowed Zack Snyder to step away from Justice League so we can like deal with this family tragedy and everything. But they completely were not wanting to go with his version of the movie from the start. And so that being said, after Zack had like left the project to like go through that family tragedy, they brought in Joss Whedon, who is obviously the director of Avengers 1 and Avengers Age of Ultron in the MCU, to come in and like finish the movie, like finish VFX and everything. But what really happened was he came in, he started ordering a whole bunch of reshoots and edits, and just basically completely made a Frankenstein's monster of a movie.
Yeah. He was trying to do a whole nother film, essentially. Like, he wanted a whole nother version of this movie.
Yeah, like, this is probably a sentiment that you've heard, like, countless people say at this point since Justice League has been out, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, I should say, has been out, is that they feel like two completely different movies. Like, not only with the fact that there's a lot more content in Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's just the fact that that is worthwhile content. Like, there are movies, like plenty of movies out there who can get the point across and like have like a well-structured narrative, well put together overall film in the amount of time that Justice League had, like trying to fulfill that 2-hour time slot, because that's what WB was wanting. They weren't wanting some big 4-hour superhero epic. with actual like filmmaking, like pizzazz and everything. They just wanted something that'll compete with Marvel and try to leech off that success. And so that's what they did.
Literally, that's like you were saying, not a lot of movies out there do have a lot of time to make a structured universe, essentially. Like, I know this is going way off the barren path, but for a good example of a not very well structured series, let's just say Star Wars. The newer Star Wars movies are hot garbage. Like, not very good.
Well, we'll get to those bad boys eventually. Don't you worry.
Oh, don't sweat it. We're gonna get into that, and we've got plenty of stuff to say about that. But we're gonna save that for another day.
Oh, we'll save it for another day.
I just wanted to use that as an example for the people out there listening.
Yeah.
That what you're essentially saying out there is there's a lot of series out there that really well structured movies that you could watch almost like a TV series and never get bored of it.
Yeah.
Or there is the new Star Wars saga, which is hot garbage, and you literally try as hard as possible to not watch them. Like, if you ask my boy Andrew here, when he came over to my house, I literally procrastinated so much to watch that movie.
Literally tried to do like anything and everything for us to not watch The Rise of Skywalker.
I just could not. I suggested we watch Transformers The Last Night, and that's equivalent to Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but it was not Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
Arguably, I'd say Transformers is worse.
I honestly agree.
But again, that's a whole different can of worms. We'll get to that eventually.
We're here for Justice League.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, back to what we were saying about the old Justice League. Joss Whedon came in, ordered a bunch of reshoots and editing and everything. And then, of course, he cut a whole bunch of what Zack Snyder had and put in scenes that he thought would like fit the cut better, and of course, still meet that under 2-hour time limit that Warner Brothers had set. Then the movie was released, and instantly everyone could tell it was a mess.
Hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Like, okay, I see what they were trying to go for. Like, when this movie came out, I worked at the movie theater, so I was very excited to go watch this movie, you know, because DC hasn't released a decent movie like this in ages. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I'm like, yo, Justice League, let's go watch it. And I was walking out of the theater, wow, Justice League, I regret watching that.
Yeah.
But what they were essentially trying to do was they were trying to copy the Avengers movie, because the first Avengers movie is kind of, it's comical in a way that it works. Like, there's a lot of jokes out there, the interactions between the characters, they work really well because in the previous movies to that, their egos and personalities are exactly the same in the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
So it just kind of works together like perfectly.
Yeah.
But in this Justice League movie, we don't have previous movies to look at.
Yeah.
Besides Batman versus Superman, to get personalities from all these characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the first time we've ever seen them interacting with each other.
Yeah.
In a way, and it's kind of a train wreck.
Yeah. And like another thing to add on to that is just the fact that Marvel, like, yeah, they have like a bunch of like quippy one-liner type of jokes and everything, but like most of the time, especially in something like Thor Ragnarok, like a lot of the comedy comes from just the situation and from the characters themselves.
Yep.
And
exactly.
That's something that Justice League like just lacked. Like Flash, like in both versions of the movie, he's a bit of a weirdo and he's just kind of like naturally funny, but again, like Joss Whedon's like insert here jokes or just like, why? Like, you're trying so hard to pander to like the youngest and the most bare bones demographic.
Yeah, it was like it was to the point where when I was watching it in the theater, you could see my body physically and very, very visibly just cringe when a joke like that would appear on the screen.
Yeah. So Justice League back in 2017 got released, and like I said, immediately everyone knew like this is not. And like the thing is, not only did WB like take advantage of Zack Snyder's family tragedy, but like I'm pretty sure you had to have like, I think at least 20 or 30 like percent like what's the word I'm trying to look for, like work, like involvement in the movie to have like your name in on the director's like title card or whatever.
Oh,
and since
yeah.
Joss Whedon just came in at
about.
since Joss Whedon came in at the last second, and just did like a couple of some reshoots and like some other editing and like turned up the saturation and stuff like that. He didn't get the not producer credit. He didn't get the director's credit from the 2017 Justice League. Zack Snyder did. And so his name was associated with that version of the movie that was completely uprooted from what he originally had. And that's just like wow.
Yeah, that was a kind of a bad move on their part.
Like that is as corporate of a thing to happen in this day and age as I could think of.
Like that's the biggest reputation ruiner, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
On their part for Zack Snyder.
So that happened, and then so for the longest time, ever since that movie was released, Zack Snyder's fans and even people who just didn't plain like the 2017 version, they begged WB to like release the Snyder cut, and then there were two.
This was a major thing.
Oh yeah, like 4 years, like a solid 3 years? Yeah, 3 years, because it was announced last year.
Yep.
There were two sides of this like conflict, I guess you could say. One side proclaiming that the Snyder Cut exists, like WB is just being like you said, corporate Hollywood. They're not putting any bets on it or anything. But it exists, and like we know it exists, and we want it now. And then you have the other side who think like no, like it doesn't exist, like you're tripping. Like if they were to try to make his version of the movie, they'd be costing like hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no way WB would do this.
No.
And then it got to the point where the actors like from Justice League were posting stuff on their social media, like saying like what happened behind the scenes, like with Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon and WB, and it's just real shady stuff. Like I'm not going to go into too much detail because that'll just be a whole other can of worms to open in and of itself. But very, very shady stuff happened in the production of Justice League, along with everything else that occurred. But it got to the point where people, again, like these two sides were just going out back and forth, and then like I said, the actors were posting like stuff on their social medias. And then what really stoked the flame, I think, was one day like Zack Snyder, I think, posted on his Instagram or Twitter, one of the two, of like a case, like a metal case looking thing, I think, and it said something along the lines of does it exist? Yes it does, of course it does, or something like that. And then that's what really got people going.
I remember that,
people were just
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, this needs to get released now. Like, let's go.
Yep.
And then that for another year and a half or so, like all it was just like throwing twigs in the wind. Like people were just begging for the Snyder Cut to be released, and nothing was coming of it until one day last year. I want to say, gosh, was it March or May of last year?
I think it was May.
May. I think it was May, actually. Zack Snyder, I believe, was doing a watch party with Henry Cavill of Man of Steel, and he used that opportunity to announce that, yeah, the Snyder Cut is happening. They're allowing him to make it, and the thing is, he wasn't even getting paid to do it. He was not getting paid. He was just doing it out of the kindness of his heart, and WB was letting him do whatever he wanted, like no strings attached. But
they just gave him creative freedom almost.
Yeah. And actually today I actually listened to, I believe, Cinema Blend on YouTube. They had an interview with Zack Snyder, and apparently he was not allowed at first to do any shooting whatsoever. WB said, yeah, you can like go in and like finish all the VFX and everything. Well, actually, no, let me backtrack. First, they were like, yo, like, do you just like we want you to release it like straight from your laptop or straight from your computer at home. Like, no VFX done, just the raw footage. And Zack was like, no, that wouldn't be fair to me, and that wouldn't be fair to the fans. And so after some negotiations, WB said, fine, you can finish the VFX, but no shooting whatsoever. But Zack Snyder, being Zack Snyder, he said no. And he went and shot a few extra scenes anyway, which included the Martian Manhunter scene near the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the Nightmare sequence at the end as well, in the epilogue.
With the Joker.
Yeah, with the Joker, Jared Leto. And Ben Affleck and Jared Leto donated their time to do this one scene as well. Like,
yeah,
Zack Snyder hit him up, and they just
were on board.
Yeah, they were on board.
Hopped right on there.
Yeah, they didn't care if they got paid or not. They just wanted to help Zack Snyder fulfill his movie.
Yeah, and that is hard to come by nowadays in Hollywood, because I'm not trying to be, well, actually I am, because it's in the title of the podcast. I'm not trying to be very nitpicky about it, but today's corporate America and today's corporate Hollywood relies on money. Like, if people aren't getting paid, obviously they're not going to do it. You know what I mean?
The world runs on money, bro.
They're not going to want to be anywhere near this project. Exactly. And it's very hard to come by committed actors such as Ben Affleck and Jared Leto, who literally just said, yeah, we'll do it. And no, don't worry about paying us. We love your vision. We love what you're trying to achieve here, and we're all for it. Do this thing. That, to me, is why I like this movie so much, because not only the committed actors for the movie, but just, it's very rare to come by that nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And so, after a year of hype and anticipation for the Snyder Cut, last week was epic, to say the least. Like,
very much so. Very much so.
Me and Zach, we were at his house, and we got up one morning and we were like, yeah, we gotta watch this before Zach has to go to work. And so that's what we did. We booted up Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO, and, well, needless to say, it's better in every conceivable way than the 2017 cut. And like any way you can think of.
It literally completely wads up the 2017 version of Justice League and throws it in the trash. And
Yeah.
that to me makes the 2017 Justice League very obsolete and very forgettable now, because whenever I think of Justice League, I'm obviously going to think of this version and not the 2017 version.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, and this is coming from Zack Snyder himself, the 2017 cut is the one they're considering canon, and his version of Justice League is the Elseworld tale story type of thing, like an alternate universe. So it's not the one that they're going to be running with as of right now. Things could change, but I mean, as of right now, WB is like, yeah, we're just going to go forward with our multi-dimensional characters and everything, like, because they have like different Batman's already there. Robert Pattinson, Ben Affleck's coming back again in the Flash movie. There were rumors, or no, there were reports that Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman, and so they're just doing a whole different thing than Marvel at this point, which is good, in my opinion.
They're just doing the whole shebang.
Yeah,
baby. So,
that being said, I think it's about time that we go ahead and break this bad boy down, scene by scene.
Let's do the NitPickCentral justice here. It's in the title of the podcast, so I think the viewers out here are patiently waiting for us to pick this thing apart.
Oh yeah. So, what we're going to do, this is how we're going to structure all of our movie and TV show reviews. We're going to do it scene by scene. Like, we're just going to start with the first scene, talk about it, what we think of it, and then move on to the next one. And we're just going to do that until we get to the end of the movie.
Sounds dope.
All right. So, we're starting off with part 1. Don't Count on It, Batman. And the first scene is obviously the intro credits and the death of Superman. And something that you can instantly see from the moment it starts is the fact that it's not the absolute train wreck of an introduction from the 2017 cut. Like, it doesn't have that stupid, like, iPhone footage of Superman with the horrible mustache CGI.
Like the whole Shazam thing. I got Shazam vibes from that.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to copy what they had going in that, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. And something that I thought was cool was the fact that it started literally with Superman's death. Like, because, you know, like, again, like, I haven't seen Man of Steel in a very long time. I've only seen it once, but I've seen Batman v Superman like 2 or 3 times, I think. And
Same.
Batman v Superman picks up right after, or right at the end of Man of Steel. And so this movie picks up right at the end of Batman versus Superman. So it all kind of like seamlessly ties together, you know?
All 3 of them, actually. It's pretty seamless.
Yeah. Like like Zack Snyder consider, and WB as well, they consider this like to be Zack Snyder's like DC trilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
At this point. And so,
but
yeah, it starts off with Superman's death, and obviously, like, since he's like dying and like he's sending out these like massive like sound waves throughout the entire world, probably the universe, because like he's sending out that signal like, yeah, he's dead. And that signal, I guess you could call it, is what finally alerts the mother boxes to like wake up, because you learn this later on in the movie, but the mother boxes are sentient. Like, they're sentient in a way because they were controlled by these witches and everything from back during the Great War with Darkseid. And they knew that if they were to call upon like Steppenwolf or Darkseid or whatever, like, Superman would be there to put a stop to it. And so
exactly,
when they got that signal,
they took advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as Superman died, they knew, oh, time to go to work, you know.
Time to wake up.
It's time to get in there. I mean, obviously, as soon as, and you'll see it in the second part, but as soon as Superman died, the mother boxes woke up, like you were saying, and basically that is the main reason we haven't seen Steppenwolf or Darkseid earlier in any of the other trilogies, is because Superman was basically guarding Earth, and they kind of feared Superman, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But as soon as he died, they saw that as an opportunity to do some dark stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So death of Superman, credits roll and everything, and then like you see like these big like panning shots of like Iceland and everything, because instead of having like some weird like pretty much all of the beginning of Justice League from 2017, Joss Whedon like restructured. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't until like maybe 20 minutes or so into the 2017 cut that Batman finally meets with Aquaman in Iceland. Is that right? Like something like that?
I believe so, yeah.
Like 20 minutes or so. But in this version, Batman goes to meet Aquaman like right at the start. Like there's no diddling around. He just goes to Iceland, and like the people there, like they're very like superstitious, and they believe like Aquaman is like some sort of, not necessarily a god, just I guess a deity in a way, because like
symbol.
Yeah, he goes there. He's like, he helps out the village. He saves people who are in trouble, and he brings them fish, which Batman knows of and confronts him with that information whenever he goes in there looking for a man named Arthur Curry. And so Batman meets Aquaman, and like you can instantly tell from right away that the even though it's the same scene, it has a completely different vibe because of dialogue and how it's shot.
Different.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if you remember, but in the 2017 cut, I'm pretty sure there were like some drawings or something of the mother boxes just kind of like planted, or just like placed on the wall of like,
I remember that.
Yeah. And in this version, like, it's not there because like,
nope.
Why? It's just like
we haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like that's, again, like, even though like I can see where Joss was coming from, like that's the whole like MacGuffin of the movie, like that's the thing, like, oh yeah, we gotta get or whatever, but like
gotta get
him. Again, like there's like, we need to ease into it. You can't just like throw it right in, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so Aquaman and Batman like have a one-on-one or whatever, and then they go outside because like Aquaman is just like, okay, enough of this. So they go outside and they're still like talking or whatever, and again, like they see, like the villagers see Batman as almost on the same level as Aquaman, because in the dialogue, like I'm pretty sure they said like there were like snowstorms or something like that, like blocking the entryways like over the mountains and everything, but Batman being Batman, of course, he gets through them, and so they're just like, what?
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. And so that happens, and then they have like a little one-on-one thing again, like as Arthur's like slowly going back into the ocean, and then he goes away. And this is something that I didn't necessarily like, not like, but I didn't like enjoy it very much either, was just the weird singing from the villagers, you know?
Yes. I remember telling you that when we watched it the first time. I was
Yeah,
like, what is going on here? I do not like where what
yeah.
what is happening right now.
Yeah, like I can see what Zack Snyder was going for. It's like
Very
um,
dramatic.
very dramatic. Like again, like these people see Arthur as a bit of a deity, and so I guess they're like giving him thanks or solitude in a way by like singing to him and everything. And like again, like I totally get that. I just don't think it was that necessary. But I mean, you know what? Like again, this is Zack Snyder's full uncorrupted vision for this movie, and so it's all good in my book. Like personally, I don't think it's necessary, but Zack Snyder can do Zack Snyder.
Yep, you do you, bud.
Yep. And then after that, it cuts to Martha Kent visiting Superman's grave and moves out of the house because she was behind in her payments. Nothing too crazy there. But then it moves on to Batman meeting Alfred at the runway. And this is going to be something that a lot of people will quote as well. But yeah, Batman, he lands from the helicopter and he's on the runway with Alfred. And they're just kind of talking about like what happened. He's like, yeah, he said no. And then Alfred says, maybe a man who broods in a cave isn't fit for recruiting or something along those lines. And it's like very on the nose, but it's like very accurate at the same time. Because like he brings up a valid point. It's like, what is Batman? I mean, besides obviously having a boy wonder and Robin and everything and having an apprentice. But like at the end of the day, like he's been doing this for 20 years. He was devastated by the death of Robin from the Joker. And so like he's just distraught, and that's what we saw in Batman v Superman was the fact that he was a damaged being, and then after seeing the human nature in Superman, that's what kind of like molded and like kind of fixed his perception on that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we'll get into this part when we get to it, but when we see Martha, Superman's mom,
Yeah.
in this movie, it's not actually his mom. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm correct here, I do not remember. So if I'm wrong, you can totally do whatever you need to in the comments. I don't care. But I'm pretty sure Superman's mom died in Batman vs Superman.
Superman's mom? Superman's mom. Oh,
because
wait. Yeah. Oh, wait. No, Martha Kent? Are you talking about Oh, no. She's alive. She's alive.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're talking about Batman's mom then. Because there's a scene where they're both like save Martha. Remember that?
Yeah. Because like Batman had like literally had his foot on Superman's throat, about to impale him with a Kryptonian spear, and he's like, "Save Martha! Save Martha!" And so Batman was like, "Oh."
See, I couldn't remember that. I couldn't remember if it was
epiphany.
I couldn't remember if it was Batman's mom or if it was Superman's mom that died, but yeah, you're right. It was Batman's mom that I was thinking of.
Of course it'd be Batman's mom. Without Batman's mom dying, he wouldn't be Batman.
Oh, well, yeah. Massive brain fart.
Don't worry. Since I'm blonde, like, those come naturally to me, so you're all good.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. So, after we cut away from the runway, we get to see Lois Lane for the first time. And admittedly, I think Amy Adams is a great actress. I just don't think she's the best for Lois Lane. But that's just my opinion. I just feel like she doesn't really embody like the brash and like very independent, but also strong, like independent and strong-willed woman that Lois Lane is. And like she's definitely have those qualities. I just don't think she like quite hits the mark, and like she doesn't really have a lot to do in this movie or any of the other movies for that matter. I mean, again, I can't really talk for Man of Steel, but from what I saw in Batman v Superman, she just didn't really have a lot to do, and so that just kind of degraded her character, in my opinion. But again, that's just me.
I agree. It definitely did water down her character, but I don't know. I kind of liked her in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, but I don't know if I care for her too much in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if I care.
Yeah, she's rarely in it as it is, and this is said multiple times, like throughout the movie by multiple characters. But Lois Lane is like the key, and like you see that in the nightmare sequence too. But like people keep referring to her as like a very like important person. Like she's the key. Like she is meant for like great things. Like she is going to be like the the tipping point in like for the future of the universe. And obviously by the nightmare sequence we learn she's dead, which sends Superman into a frenzy and all that. But we'll get to that eventually.
Oh yeah.
But as this is happening, like the camera just keeps having these pans over Metropolis and everything, and then we get to Wonder Woman's intro scene at the bank heist with like the hostages and everything. And I thought this scene was I thought it was just utter awesomeness. Wait, what did you say?
I said cut.
In the cut. In the cut with white deer.
Get on my level.
Oh God.
That's
an inside joke. But yeah. Anyway.
Very much so an inside joke. If you guys didn't know, it's totally an inside joke.
Oh yeah, it's most definitely an inside joke.
Definitely is an inside joke.
Oh yeah, but anyway, inside jokes aside, Wonder Woman intro. Again, like I thought it was so much better than the Whedon version. In the Whedon version, it just kind of had like you saw her standing on top of that statue, and I think it just had either just kind of the regular like brass and horns type of intro, or may have had her regular theme like the dun 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 dun, you know.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about from the Wonder Woman film.
Yeah, but in this one, like she still had that theme. There was just a lot more added to it. Like it had like a more of like a tribal sense about it. It was like you heard
felt like the Halo theme song to me.
Yeah, you heard a woman like just going on a vocal run in the first part of it, and then it goes into like the more like you hear the drums and you hear the horns and all that.
Like the first couple of times I heard this theme song, I honestly thought it was awesome. It fit the tone perfectly, but we'll get into why I do not like this theme song closer to the end of this podcast. Because if my boy Andrew here remembers, there was a scene in the movie where I'm like, I swear to God, because as soon as she came on screen, I'm like, I swear to God, if you hear this woman chanting one more time, I'm gonna throw a fit. I'm gonna get mad.
Oh,
and what happens? Of
he
course
got
mad. But we'll get into the excessive use of this theme song closer to the end of this podcast.
Of course. But yeah, this intro, like the action was better. I thought it was executed better. Like, and you got to see more like reasoning and like more background for why the robbers are doing what they're doing and everything. And again, with like how the movie is like set up, like with the aspect ratio that it has, is more of a top down type of thing instead of being like more wide like most movies are. And like he really takes advantage of that, because especially after like Wonder Woman like bursts through the door and like just ransacks those guys, like literally like tossing them up like against the walls, like punching them, and like I remember one, she punched a guy and then he flew back, hit the wall, and then his like head, like it didn't splatter, but like it left a big like bloody mark on the wall. I was like, oh my god.
That
like,
was the first scene in this movie that had gore in it.
Yeah.
And me and Andrew both were like, yo, holy
yeah.
crap.
Like that was the first indicator that like you already know the action in this movie is going to be next level.
Immense.
Oh yeah. And it was, for the most part, it was.
Well, it definitely earned a rated R rating because we'll get into why, but yeah, this movie compared to the PG-13 2017 version, very much different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like the amount of like the blood effects and just the overall like violence of the action like just warrants a R rating in and of itself.
Excuse me.
But yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, I thought this sequence was very well executed, and I like the part at the end where after Wonder Woman like saved everyone and like she threw the bomb up in the air, and like that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with like the aspect ratio and everything. Like she throws it up and then you see this really cool shot of her like she throws the bomb and then like it goes in slow-mo, and that's something that we'll talk about later as well, the slow-mo in the movie. But you see this one like really like good looking slow-mo shot of her like looking up at the bomb, and then it explodes, and then she like throws and like it like shoots her back down, and then the kind of like the leader of these like robbers or whatever almost like completely just massacres this whole like group of like 20-30 people or so that were inside this bank. And then Wonder Woman like crashes through the ceiling and like uses her like gauntlets to block the bullets and everything. And like she does that thing where it's like really super fast, like she's just like like blocking all the bullets and like moving people out of the way. So cool. And like I get that was
then she does the whole X-Force thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. And like I get that this was in the theatrical 2017 version too. It's just the fact that there were a whole bunch of other added parts to it, like all the extra action
different
bits,
points of view.
Yeah. And like you said, Zach, she did the X-Force thing where she like clings her gauntlets together to make this like huge shockwave or whatever. And like on like in the 2017 version it just faded to white, and then like the camera opened back up to when they're outside the bank, and Wonder Woman was like, yeah, like is everyone okay, like you all are good, like yeah, you all are safe and everything. But in this you got to see the outside like after she did that. Holy shit. Like I'm pretty sure that was like 100% practical, because those like little like particles and those like bits of like the cement building like being blown off, like being like, just exploded into a whole bunch of different pieces. I thought that was amazing. Like I thought that looked really, really good.
Oh yeah, compared to what we got in 2017, excuse me, it did look pretty fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah. As I was saying, I did like that part at the end of that sequence where this one little girl, and like you saw her kind of like being like the focus of the scene, like not necessarily the focus, kind of like the average citizen's like point of view of the situation. She's like, I want to be like you, because like Wonder Woman's like going over like everyone in the crowd, and she's like, "Yeah, are you good? Like, are you okay? Are you all right?" And then she gets to this little girl, and she's like, "I want to be like you." And then she like kneels down. She's like, "You can be whatever you want." And like, I get like what that's trying to do. Like, that's trying to tell like little girls like everywhere that like they don't have to fit into one like certain thing. Like, they can do whatever they put their mind to, and that goes for anyone really. If you put your mind to something, like, you can do it. You know?
Well, it just, sorry, I was trying to think of a response. My brain was not functioning properly. I don't know why. But I think, in my opinion, it's good to send positive messages like that at the beginning of the movie, because the more we get into this movie and the more we break it down, this movie is very dark and grim for a superhero movie. So the little positive messages you get every now and then in the movie is very much welcomed, because it helps the fact that we're not watching a movie about a crusade. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're not watching extremely dark, gory massacres or murders. We're here for the superheroes, and we're here for the awesome parts of the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what makes the Justice League the Justice League? Obviously, the quippy remarks and the cool characters coming together to be a team. But the welcoming parts of little moments like that in the movie are very nice. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I went on a whole spiel here, but
no, you're all good.
They're very nice, in my opinion, in this movie.
Yeah, and there's a lot of positive, like, uplifting messages and themes in this movie.
Yeah.
But again, like, it's all, like, compounded with, like, the, like, real hard, like, life lessons at the same time. Like, you don't learn these good things without going through stuff that makes you uncomfortable, or stuff that, like, just overall could, like, it's just like bad for you. But like, you know, like, it's supposed to be good. Like, there's no pain, or there's no gain with no pain, you know?
Oh, yes.
And so, yeah, lots of good messages in this movie, and overall just really good intro for Wonder Woman. And that being said, after we see Wonder Woman kick some major ass at this bank heist, we get to see Themyscira back where the Amazonians reside, and we get to see the mother box at Themyscira like awake, and like they're in this like whole like grand like stone temple and everything, and you see like again like the mother box is like shaking, and it's like waking up, and it's like all lit up and everything, and then like all of a sudden like you see Wonder Woman's mom come in, and she's just like talking with like everyone else, and she's like, well, what's going on and everything, and then it just stops. Like the mother box like dims down, stops shaking, and then everyone's just like, what? It's like it's according to one of the guards of the mother box, they said that it's the first time it stopped like shaking and like glowing since it started in the first place. And there was a really cool line after that, because someone was like, yo, like maybe it went back to sleep. And then Wonder Woman's mom is like, evil doesn't sleep, it waits. I was like,
oh yeah, I do remember that.
That's tight. I thought that was a really, really good line.
Oh, and I just want to apologize in advance to all the viewers. I've been saying, oh yeah, I remember that quite a lot. I've only seen this movie once. That was with Andrew here. I think have you seen it twice?
Yeah, I've seen it twice, and then I saw it a third time, I guess you could say, when I was trying to get the scene by scene structured and everything. But I wasn't really watching. I was mostly just typing in as the movie was going on in the background.
And I watched this the day it came out. So right around now, I'm pretty sure that's, what, a week ago?
Mm-hmm.
Almost a week?
Yeah.
So, I just remember the cool parts.
Just remember the parts that you see in the trailers.
Yeah, exactly. So, literally, when Andrew will say something, I immediately remember it. I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it? Oh. So, yeah, I do remember that line, and I remember us both turning and looking like, what?
That's tight.
That's gas.
That's gas. But yeah, she delivers that one line, and then pretty much on cue, you see one of Steppenwolf's portals open up, and then like parademons fly out the end of it, and like they're starting to cause just mass hysteria, and then you see Steppenwolf for the first time in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And like, I feel like the one from Zack Snyder's Justice League could like literally decimate the Steppenwolf from the 2017 cut. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, the two are just completely like, they're almost completely different characters, because not only does the Zack Snyder version look infinitely cooler and like is like more threatening, he has more character, because I don't know if you noticed, but if you look at his face, like his eyes are more humanoid than they were in the 2017 cut. Because in the 2017 cut, not only did he look just like really like watered down, like he didn't have those like really cool like spiky armor or anything that like had like these like cool reflecting patterns, like depending on where he was like positioned at with the light. He just had this like really drab, like I think black and gray color scheme all about him, and it just looked trash. But also in the 2017 cut, his eyes were a bit more like bestial, you know, like he definitely looked like a demon and everything. But yeah. But in the, like I said, Zack Snyder's cut, his eyes were more humanoid, and so like whenever you have these character beats with Steppenwolf throughout the whole movie, and like the camera is like fixated on Steppenwolf, especially like his like more upper body, you get to see his face. You see that like he's an actual being with motives, with drive, emotions. But again, in the 2017 cut, you hardly got any of that.
He's here for a purpose, you know what I mean?
His purpose is to just get in good with Darkseid again, because he betrayed him from what we know in the movie, and he just tried to get back in his good graces so he can take over the universe with Darkseid.
Yep.
And like, is that the best thing that one can do? No. But I mean, like, evil is evil, and like there is humanity in evil people too. I know from like on the outside looking in, like evil people are evil and like they need to be stopped, but at the end of the day, like they are beings with their own motives, their own drives. Like they've been through certain things in their own lifetimes that have helped them develop who they are, and so to them, they're the good guy.
Honestly, let me stop you right there. So I haven't said that in a while. Man, does it feel good. Anyway, nobody, in my opinion, is truly evil. Oh. Everybody, in their own point of view, has a certain motive, and to that person, that is what gives them drive and commitment, you know, to do what they're trying to do. But in other people's point of view, obviously, it may come off as a little bit, you know, wicked, like, why is this person robbing a bank? That's not very good, you know what I mean? But from that person, they may be robbing a bank because they're poor and they're trying to feed their family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be a good point of view, so for them, they're not really evil, they're just trying to help themselves. But from other people's point of view, they could very much be a villain. Yeah. So, from Steppenwolf's point of view, obviously what he's trying to do is not completely evil because, like you said, he's trying to come in with Darkseid's, good side.
Yeah.
But Darkseid himself he's got some pretty wicked motives. Yeah, he's not really a good guy. He's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. He's quite the bad guy.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. Anyway,
classic.
I didn't mean to be like this whole motivational speaker type of guy here. I just wanted to put that out there that that's the way I see villains, because there's a lot of movies where the villain gives their monologue or they do their whole speech or whatever before they kill the bad guy or before they fight, and most of what they're fighting for or why they are becoming evil is not actually technically terrible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason it's bad is because of whatever the hero is, whatever the hero disagrees with, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
but
like, that's in the case of like actual characters, like who are evil.
Yeah,
like good movies.
That's what I'm trying to get at for this movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in real life, that's a completely different story, but that's for another podcast if we ever do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but no, what I'm trying to get at is
it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, this is basically I'm titling this right now copyright. So if you guys end up saying this in your videos, come at me, bro. This is it's copyright. Anyway, this is what I like to call the superhero formula. Almost in every superhero movie you've seen, it's basically what I just said with the perspective. Obviously the villain is doing what the villain does because the villain wants to do it. The hero disagrees because obviously it's not morally right. But sometimes the villain could be right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, it's all a matter of perspective. Like, just take Thanos, for example. Like, he wanted to wipe out half of all life in the universe because he thought that would be the best for it. He thought he was the only one who saw where he was coming from and why he wanted to do it, and he thought other people were crazy for trying to stop him.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. But, anyway, so Steppenwolf arrives on the scene at Themyscira trying to get the mother box. And then all of a sudden, like, all of the Amazonians just crowd around Steppenwolf trying to, like, prevent him from getting the mother box. And then do you remember Wonder Woman's name? Or not Wonder Woman's name. Wonder Woman's mom's name.
Ooh, no, but I can certainly look that up.
Okay.
Hold up real quick.
Look that up. That should
I
be
am
like the
pulling
battle
that
pass.
right now. Oh. Let us see here. Where is she at? Ooh, I do not know how to pronounce that. Hold up.
Oh.
Name. Let's see.
Name.
Oh, that is such a... I don't think I've ever heard that in the movie. I can't pronounce it, so...
Here, send it to me.
Have Google do it. Hold up. Sorry for the awkward silence. I am very, very much trying to figure this out for myself because I do not know. All right, so I'm just going to have Google say it. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but...
Capalda.
Capalda?
Yep.
Capalda.
Yep.
All right. So Capalda, I guess is what we're running with. Capalda uses like a whip or something to like snatch the mother box and like run away with it. And something that I noticed in this scene that was different from the 2017 cut was the fact that after she snatched the box, like, she still took the time to like see if her fellow Amazonians were like okay. It was like there were a couple of them that were like laying down on the floor injured, and she was like, yo, like, are you okay? Like, get back up, like, it's gonna be okay. And they're like, no, like, you just need to go, like, get the box away from here. And there were several moments like that, and I thought that was really cool. It's just like, it's something small, but it adds a lot to her character, even though she's like hardly in the movie.
It's personality.
Yeah, exactly. And so she gets away, and then you go to that one scene where she's riding on her horse, like trying to get away from Steppenwolf. And then as she's running away, the Amazonians had like this booby trap, I guess you could call it, where they closed the entrance to like the, what's it called? The what did I call it?
Mascara?
Earlier? No, it's like the place where they had the mother box in. It was like just like the stone like cave type of
some
thing.
Kind of temple.
Yeah, some kind of temple. And so like they closed the entrance to that, which initiated some sort of like not a fail safe, but more of like a like I said before, like a booby trap. And the cliff that the temple was sitting on just collapses in on itself. So Capaldi got away with the mother box, but in exchange, like hundreds of Amazonians died to try to make sure Steppenwolf and the parademons did not get the mother box. Which I thought that, and like the falling sequence in and of itself was just epic. And then she kind of like goes back towards like the cliff or whatever to see like the remains of the temple, and then you just see like I think like 10 or 15 parademons come up out of the water. Steppenwolf is like literally in the middle of them, comes up looking like an actual god, like he's like flying through the air, but he's just like jumping. It looks so cool. And then that's when that running sequence started, where she's on the horse, and then like she's kind of playing hot potato with the mother box with the other Amazonians, trying to get it away from Steppenwolf. And like in the 2017 cut, like Steppenwolf, like yeah, he was like deadly, like he was definitely a threat to them. But in this one, he did not hold back whatsoever.
In this one, he's a threat.
It was awesome. And like
it was very much so awesome. It was cool.
Like I'm not saying like I'd advocate for animal violence, but like anytime that he would like literally jump right next to a horse and then like just shoulder bash it, basically straight out of Destiny 2 type beat, just knock that horse like 30 feet over to the right, and then like kill the Amazonian who was like on the horse at the same time. Like it's just like, holy god, like this man.
It caught me and Andrew here off guard, very much so.
Yeah. It was like, then there was this one time where like he got pinned down because like they were like shooting arrows that like had ropes on the end of them, and like they were trying to restrain him. And then it got to a point where he was like, no. And he grabbed all of the ropes and flung the horses over his shoulder. I was like, oh my god. Like,
yeah, it was
this man's insane. Awesome. It was simply epic.
Literally, though.
And there were a few of them that literally got chopped up with his axe too, and I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, no, that was with the nightmare sequence. My bad. But yeah, it was just epic, and like it was a lot longer too, I think, because I think there were more Amazons that got to like take part in this version of the sequence, like trying to get the mother box away. And then it got to a point where one of them fell, like their horse like collapsed on them, and then Capaldi like went to help. As I'm yawning.
Yo, why you yawning like that?
Oh, I just need some oxygen. It's all good, bro.
This is a podcast.
Oh.
No time for sleep.
There's no time to sleep when it's time for a podcast, brother.
Oh man, I just love how we immediately stopped talking about what we were talking about.
Oh yeah. But anyway, so yada yada yada. Steppenwolf gets the box, and then Capaldi was just like talking to the other Amazons, and she's like, yeah, we gotta send off like the arrow so we can like warn everyone of the invasion. And then one of the Amazons was like, the arrow hasn't been shot, or like the fire hasn't been seen for like over 5,000 years or something. Like, man isn't gonna know what it means. And then Capaldi's like, oh, but she will.
That's when the Wonder Woman theme cues in too.
Oh yeah. You gotta love that Wonder Woman theme. You hear it like 20 times.
I was gonna say, it gets a bit excessive after a little bit, and it does indeed infuriate me.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
And so with that ends part 1 of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then part 2, which is labeled The Age of Heroes. And this opens up with Steppenwolf setting up base in the nuclear plant in Moscow when he inserts like the first mother box into this like panel of steel sitting up or whatever. It activates like the base and everything, and then he sends off the rest of the parademons. He's like, yeah, like go find the other mother boxes, like follow their scent, bring them to me so we can form the unity and all that kind of stuff. Then it cuts to Batman and Alfred discussing Barry Allen and like the logistics behind recruiting for the League anyways. And I thought it was a really interesting scene because, again, it gave more context as to like Batman's like character arc coming out of Batman v Superman, because like he realizes like,
oh yeah,
there's stuff in this universe that's way bigger than either Superman or himself. And so like there's no way they'll be able to take them on alone. Like he needs to form some sort of group, some sort of team that can help him deal with the problems no one else can. And like,
quoting Batman here, there's a threat coming.
Oh, there's a threat coming. But it's
I'm
already
forming
here.
an alliance. I'm forming an alliance. There's a threat coming, and I don't think it's quite too good. I kind of need your help.
Yeah, I kind of need your help. But yeah, I thought it was a really interesting scene. Just really, really good dialogue between Batman and Alfred. And then it cuts to Silas Stone over at not Stark Labs. Oh my God, wrong universe. Star Labs, which is also the site of the Kryptonian ship that what's his face, Zod appeared in Man of Steel. And
just very nice continuity, by the way.
Oh yes, I mean it was in Batman v Superman too, so it'd be kind of weird for it to not be there.
Yeah.
But then it also cuts to a janitor who just kind of like just normal everyday janitor who gets abducted by a parademon, because like as Steppenwolf, as you saw in the previous scene, Steppenwolf sent out the parademons to go follow the scent of the mother boxes and like find people who have like a stronger scent connected to the mother boxes and bring them to Steppenwolf so he can find out where they are. And it's stuff like that that shows off just how well put together this movie is, because almost everything in this movie like has a setup and it has a punchline. Like it has a it gets fulfilled. Like there's a setup and then it gets like fulfilled.
Climax.
Yeah, like it gets a satisfying, like, a logical conclusion to what was set up beforehand. And you just didn't really see a lot of that in the 2017 cut, because it just kind of seemed like Steppenwolf somehow knew where these mythical boxes were, like, right off the rip, and he kind of just showed up at different places to get them. But in this, we see how he knew. He sent out the parademons to go find people who had the strongest scent of the mother boxes, bring them back to him, and he went from there.
Exactly.
Like, it's just simple stuff like that. You gotta wonder, why did they cut it? Like, why did they not let this man just do his thing? You know?
Like that was very useful information.
Yeah. Like, it seems small, but, like, at the same time, like, people aren't stupid. If you treat your audience as if they're stupid and you have to hold their hand through the whole movie, like, it's insulting. It's
Pretty
like,
much.
Not everyone who watches this movie is like a 12-year-old who just wants to see superheroes fight and see hot women on the screen just do whatever. You know, like, there's people out there who want to see a genuinely well put together movie and a well structured narrative. And, like, we just simply didn't really get that with the 2017 version. But yeah, so after that, it cuts back to the Amazons back at Themyscira, and they just shoot the arrow from Themyscira to Greece at, I believe it was Minerva's monument or something like that in Greece.
I think so.
Or something, maybe Zeus's statue, one of the two, something like that. And it was a pretty cool sequence. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about. It's just, like, really cool sequence of, you see the arrow just flying through the air, like, literal thousands of miles to go to Greece, which was, again, pretty cool. And then it cuts to Wonder Woman at, like, the sculpting house that she was at, like, working on a sculpture or whatever, and she sees the arrow, like, or she sees the fire, I should say, burning on the ancient, like, ruins or whatever, and then she just, like, she knows what's up. She's like, oh crap. And so she just instantly, like, goes off and tries to recover the arrow. And I thought it was good that they kept that, or Joss Whedon kept that anyway, because it kind of shows what Wonder Woman's up to when she's not, like, obviously saving people's lives in the present day. Like, she's kind of, like, keeping low, staying undercover, and just kind of doing, like, what any normal person would do. Just, like, get a job and, like, just go about their day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, after that, it cuts back to Star Labs, and it's just FBI or CIA, one of the two, launching an investigation at Star Labs because of all the abductions, obviously. I think they said there were about 6, 7, 8, like I want to say 7, like 7 abductions from Star Labs. And so they're like, we got to find out, like, what's going on here. And then, like, they found out that one of the people who managed to get away, I believe it was kept in quarantine, and they drew up, like, a mock sketch of what they saw of, like, who, like, were abducting them or attempted to abduct this person. And it definitely looked like a demon, but considering that they haven't really seen any of these kind of demons before, it's obviously implying that these people are thinking Batman has just completely lost his marbles and is just abducting people now.
Oh yeah, it does look oddly like Batman.
Mm-hmm.
The sketch, at least.
Yeah. And then after that, it cuts to Silas, who's Cyborg's dad, by the way, Silas Stone. Cuts to him in his apartment talking with Cyborg about the monsters at Star Labs, and this is where you get to see, like, Cyborg's, like, arc. Like, you see the beginning where he's at now, so then, like, whenever you see him develop and grow as a person throughout the movie. Like, you get to see that growth. And at this point, he's just like completely like hardly talking to his dad, hardly even looking at him. He just believes that, like, if it weren't for the fact that he was so busy all the time in the lab and everything, he wouldn't be a literal cyborg and his mom would still be alive. And he said this one line, like, after Cyclops is like, yeah, like, there were a whole bunch of like monsters or something at the lab and everything. And he's like, you know, an awful lot about monsters, especially how to make them or something like that. It's just like,
yep,
ouch. Like, that's tough. Like, I know it's a fictional universe, but like, you have to imagine, like, that could easily be traded out for something to happen in real life, like, easily.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, that's something like a son and a father and a son should never have to go through. But unfortunately, like, there are people out there who go through stuff like that, and it's tough, and it puts a real strain on their relationship, especially if one party thinks the other party's at fault. Especially for something like that drastic, like losing a parent. Like, that's some tough stuff to go through.
Yeah, major thing.
And then after that, it quickly cuts to Wonder Woman finding the arrow, and you see this really cool sequence of her like grabbing the arrow and like jumping down into like the secret chasm underneath this underneath the ruins where the fire was burning. And you get to see her open up this like door, like the secret door where like you put in the arrow at. And it leads you to this room where you can see like the history of the mother boxes and the Great War with Darkseid, like from way back in the day, that like took place. And then like it like lets Wonder Woman know like what's going on. And then she sees like there's a really cool moment of her looking up at the picture of Darkseid, and she's just like sitting there like utterly terrified. She's like, oh shit.
And this ain't too good, Chief.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Okay, Han Solo.
And so, yeah, that's honestly, like, it's a really cool scene and everything, but I am of the belief that that wasn't necessarily needed. Just because, like, I feel like you could easily write that off in the fact that, like, since that was like, that's a major part of, like, that universe's culture, especially her culture, since her mother was the one who took part in that same battle anyway, you know? And so yeah. I feel like that with a few different dialogue, like you change around some dialogue or whatever, you could easily say that, yeah, Wonder Woman already knew that. And I'm pretty sure that's what the 2017 cut did anyway, was the fact that Wonder Woman already knew the story. And so when she met Batman to talk about it, like, we didn't get to see her necessarily learn about it, but I mean, we can kind of deduce that she knew.
Literal game changer.
Oh. I just spilled my Dr. Pepper.
This guy.
I am livid right now.
It's like soaking in the carpet, and there's nothing I can do about it.
That is a massive L. I'm sorry.
Oh
my god.
It's not how I wanted this night to go, but at least I drank most of it, so there's not a lot of Dr. Pepper on the floor, but that was wasted Dr. Pepper. It's part of my carpet now. God damn it.
Oh, God.
Sorry. What were we talking about?
You're all good. You're all good. We were just talking about Wonder Woman, like, knowing the history of, like, Darkseid on the mother boxes or whatever.
Yes,
anyway,
yes,
after that, it cuts to Aquaman, saving a sailor out in Iceland. And this is a scene that I think was good and that was definitely needed, or not necessarily needed, but it's good to have for Aquaman's character. Because he saved this sailor and everything, and then it was like you get to see that he like cares about like these people, and like he's very loyal to them, and like you get to see like those seeds of like his personality that he doesn't necessarily agree with, but also can't help himself because that's just the person he is at the same time. You know, it's a really, really interesting dynamic, like internal dynamic that he has with himself. But the part where he goes out onto this like rock, like dock, I guess it could be, like during the high tide, where like the waves are just crashing up and like flooding it or whatever, like that whole scene where he's like just downing some liquor, and you hear this like really angelic type of like orchestra music going on in the background, like, and like a whole bunch of slow-mo happening at the same time. You see him like rip off his shirt, you see him like pose like he's doing a beach body advertisement or something like that.
Well, that whole scene, I'm pretty sure, was in 2017's version of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
But the only difference between that is the music choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure in 2017's version it was like a rock, upbeat song.
Mm-hmm.
And this one it's more kind of low key, kind of, yeah, he's going through some stuff right now.
Yeah.
Kind of music.
And that's actually a good way of like illustrating like the impact of music on film, because like you said, like in the 2017 version there was like an upbeat rock sound, so in that context it was just a clip of, you know, this big burly, like tattooed, like intimidating guy who's just downing some liquor and looking like an absolute beast. But in the Zack Snyder's Justice League, like with that one music choice, like change, you get to see that like you said, like he's going through some stuff. Like I said, like he's going through that battle of, like, he cares about the people around him. Like he cares about not only his father's world and like the humans and like the people who are on the surface, and then he also cares about his family and his legacy down in Atlantis as well.
Oh yeah, like it's more of a mental battle with himself.
Yeah,
kind of deal, because he doesn't want other people to know what he's doing, but he's kind of battling with himself right now.
Yeah,
like you said, he's got a lot of stuff on his plate.
Yeah.
Right now, but then again, there's still hope for a somewhat decent future for Aquaman.
Yeah.
But
and again, like it plants those seeds, which is pretty interesting. It plants those seeds for the Aquaman movie as well. So like you get to see that continuity in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, he saves the sailor, goes out and does his whole Beachbody advertisement on the rock bridge or whatever, and he goes down to his favorite spot near Atlantis, where it has a statue of King Atlan with the trident, and like you can definitely tell like he's interested in like that part of his like life, like that part of his family, like I was saying just a minute ago. But at the same time, like he struggles with trying to have a relationship with that because of how he views his mother, because he's a mixed breed, I guess you could say, because his dad was just a normal person, meanwhile his mom was the Queen of Atlantis, and so together they make this human Atlantean hybrid baby, where eventually the Queen of Atlantis had to go back to Atlantis, or else like major trouble would have been stirred up and everything. And so to save the surface, basically, she went back to Atlantis to make sure, like, her husband and her son were going to be safe. But again, like, to Arthur, like, he doesn't really see it that way.
No.
And so, again, like, you get to see
it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, bud.
No, you're good.
He sees it more of like a curse than a blessing in this moment, because obviously I feel like the human part in Aquaman is wanting to be more of himself than he is an Atlantean. You know, you see what I'm saying? He's wanting to be more like a normal person.
Yeah.
Than being blessed with being the king of Atlantis. Because that's a big mantle to take on with what he's got going on personally right now.
Yeah.
But
and again, it's just like it sows those seeds for like not only for his character arc in this movie, but his own solo film in the future too.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, like he's interested in it, but at the same time, like he has this like internal dynamic where he's like, well, I mean, like this kind of stuff happens, so it kind of just doesn't really. I don't want to, but at the same time, I do. It's really interesting, and you get to see that. Like you get to see that. Like, well, I don't think we saw hardly any of that in Justice League, and we obviously got to see that in the Aquaman movie, but it just kind of like. It came out of nowhere because like he was wielding his mother's trident in the 2017 cut, but then at the same time when we cut back to Aquaman in his solo movie, he was just kind of like this rogue warrior type of thing, like defending the seas like he was normally, but without the trident at the same time. So it's just a weird disconnect. And interestingly enough, speaking of his mother's trident, Vulko, which is like an Atlantean advisor or whatever, and like a servant to the king and queen, who is played by none other than Green Goblin himself, Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
And is honestly expertly brought to life by Willem Dafoe in this role as Vulko. Because like he's hardly in this movie. Like I'm pretty sure he's in like maybe 2 or 3 scenes at most, like maybe 4 if I remember.
But it was
correctly.
a nice touch.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and he was also really good in Aquaman's normal movie, like his solo movie. But you just got to see like Vulko bring up again those family issues, because he's like, yeah, like your brother, and then Aquaman's like, half brother. He's like, okay, whatever, your half brother is like threatening war with the surface, and like the mother box is going off, like we need you to take up the throne and like help defend our people. He's like, no, your people. And so like again, like you get to see like Aquaman thinks of himself like not as like necessarily either species, like he just kind of is his own person.
And that's very nice to see too, because I don't think like you said, I don't think we saw any of that in the 2017 version.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just really, really good character moment with Aquaman and Vulko in that scene. And then after that, it cuts to Steppenwolf speaking with DeSaad about the retrieval of the mother boxes and the coming of Darkseid. So, like the metal like panel that he put the mother box in was a way for DeSaad to communicate to Steppenwolf through. And so, like Steppenwolf like let him know like, hey, like I'm getting these mother boxes together, like I'm trying to make up for what I did. Like I know like DeSaad brought up like you betrayed him, like you betrayed Darkseid, and he's like, I know that, but like I'm trying to do this so I can get back into his good graces and everything. Like I'm trying everything I can. And it's just a really good character moment for Steppenwolf, because again, back in 2017 he was just like he was a blank canvas of a character. Like, he just had just one goal, and that was to be the evil guy and destroy the universe and do all that. But in this, like, he's still like that lower level villain, but he's got a purpose. Like, you get to see that purpose, and you get to see what he's trying to go for. Like, he just wants to him, he's just a guy who felt like he messed up, and he's trying to make up for it. And like, I can honestly identify with that, because I mess up a lot as it is, and I try my best to make up for what I do when I mess up, and I can see where he's coming from. Yeah, exactly. It's just human. Like, it puts some humanity in just otherworldly creature from a whole different universe, you know?
Something us as an audience can somewhat connect to, because if it was a completely, I don't know, foreign object, like let's say a transformer or something, it didn't have any of this like humanoid personality, like you said, it'd be kind of difficult for the audience to connect to and somewhat identify as a character. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
so yeah, like, just a really good character moment with Steppenwolf and DeSaad. And after that, it cuts to Wonder Woman meeting Batman in the Batcave. And this scene, you get to see, like, from this point of view in the movie, or of the movie, I should say, of the potential of Batman and Wonder Woman's possible relationship that could have happened.
I remember that.
Should this, like, Snyderverse, quote unquote, have continued. Because, like, you get to see, like, certain moments, like, whether it be them looking at each other for, like, a certain amount of time, or later, like, whenever they're at the computer and they touch hands at the same time, and, like, she gets there and they kind of just, like, joke around a little bit. He's like, you know, I paid millions of dollars for that security system, right? And she's like, well, I mean, you got your money's worth. It took me almost a whole minute to get through the firewall. So, like, you get to see, like, they have some playful banter with each other, and they have a really good dynamic throughout the whole movie. And that's something that I can commend this version of the movie for. Like, not only do Batman and Wonder Woman have a good, like, have good chemistry and good dynamic, but all of the characters do. And it's something really good to see. And, like, for the most part, in the 2017 cut, they were separate. Like, they were fighting together, but separate at the same time. And, like, they weren't...
There wasn't
really,
very much
like,
chemistry.
Yeah, like, it was just off. Like, you could definitely tell, like, they were... None of them really felt like they really wanted to be there, you know?
Yeah, I definitely felt that when I saw that on screen.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she gets there, and then she tells Batman everything about the battle with Darkseid and the mother boxes, where they came from, and stuff like that, and just kind of give him this whole rundown. And you get to see it as she's talking, and, like, this battle scene is just crazy, because you have Darkseid, who's, like, slamming down that hammer so he can find the anti-life equation. Like, that's the whole reason that he's trying to... that he invades all these worlds anyway. And so he can get the anti-life equation so he can control life on a multiversal level. Like, he'd basically be, like, omnipotent. God. But yeah, she runs through the story, and, like, I want to say the version in 2017 was, like, maybe 45 seconds to a minute long, but in this...
But it didn't have Darkseid.
Yeah, it didn't have Darkseid at all. It just had Steppenwolf. But in this, it had Darkseid as the guy who invaded first, and this scene was, like, I think 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes long.
I think so.
Because you got to see not only the battle, which included the human race.
Tons of gore, by the way.
Oh yeah, tons of gore. Like, you got to see, like, people get impaled, and, like, whenever, like it would go through their back and come out their chest, and you see blood like gushing from the exit wound, and you see blood dripping off the spear or whatever. It's just like
you got to see a freaking Green Lantern for the first time in this film, and he gets his hand cut clean off.
Yeah, like honestly, that Green Lantern was not up to snuff. Like he just shot some lasers, and I remember I was watching this with my buddy Brennan. Like when I watched it the second time, he's like, "Dude, like why didn't he just conjure up a bus or something? Like do something other than shoot a laser." But yeah, you got to see that. You got to see the Green Lantern. You get to see his hand get cut off, which again is just like bruh. But you get to see the Atlanteans before they went underwater and evolved. You got to see the Amazons before they did their betrayal.
Pretty sure you get to see some of the gods too.
Oh yeah, you get to see Zeus, Ares, and I think wasn't there 3 gods? There was Zeus, Ares, and I think
was Hercules there?
No, it wasn't Hercules. Because like Zeus, he was the one who had like that fur, not necessarily coat. He had that like just kind of like a almost like a cape, I guess it would be. And then like he was the one with the shirt off, and like he did that thing where he like had the lightning like strung across his chest, and then he shot it at Darkseid, and then he shot it at the mother boxes to like separate them from the Unity.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and so you just got to see like the gods themselves like teamed up, because like they were the gods, like they were the protectors of that world at the time. But since times have changed and everything, like Batman, like you get to see like that connection, because they are technically the new gods of this universe. Like they are the ones who are supposed to be stepping up and again solving the problems that no one else can. And again, it was just a really cool sequence, and like everything looked fantastic. Like for the most part, like even though this movie was like put together and like fully finished with the VFX and everything, like within like a year and a half or so, like that's still pretty impressive. The fact that it looks this
that was
good.
pretty spectacular.
And like it doesn't look good 100% of the time, but I mean like I can forgive it at least, just because again like it didn't have the luxury of most other movies do, where it's like like they have a definitive like start date, end date, and like they have all the power, all the manpower to get the effects done and make them look as good as they possibly can. But yeah, just a really cool sequence. And they said that line of like I believe a war is coming or something like that, or a battle is coming or something like that. And then Diana's like, no, it's already here.
Oh yeah, that was like between them and her and Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, really good sequence. A team. And like again, like I feel like that this is something that we didn't need to see her like physically go out and like learn herself, because again, like just with some like added and switched around dialogue, like you can easily write it to where like she already knew this, which is totally believable in my opinion, because again, like that's a cornerstone event of her culture. So like why would she not know that?
Exactly.
So yeah, but that's just me. So after that, it moves on to part 3, which is labeled Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. And we first get to see the Flash in this movie in Central City. And we get to see him apply for a dog walking center. And like I said, like at the beginning of this episode, his humor is pretty hit or miss for me. he's just a really weird guy, and I try not to let like real world events like apply to like characters in the movie, but like I don't know if you know this, but like he was like accused, or not necessarily accused, like he was basically exposed for just beating the daylights out of some fan or whatever in a coffee shop or something like that a couple months ago.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah. Like he went to town on this chick. And I think he might have been drunk too. I think it might have been at a bar in like New Zealand or Switzerland, one of the two. And yeah, they were just like taking pictures and want to get a video of him, and he just like no, and like beat the crap out of her.
Wow.
But yeah, that's kind of the basics of that whole situation. I don't know it like off the top of my head right now, but that's just what I remember. So I mean, I hope I don't get flamed for that if I don't have like all my facts straight, but that's just kind of like what I got off the top. But anyway, his humor is pretty hit or miss, at least for me, and he's just an overall weird guy. Like he was weird in the 2017 cut, and he's just as weird in this one, but again, like it's toned back because of all the Joss Whedon jokes not being in this version of the movie, which degraded this character even more. Speaking of which, like the 2017 cut made the Flash out to be like some sort of like C-list hero, like Falcon, for instance, from the MCU. Like this man can literally run faster than the speed of light, faster, like so fast that he can reverse time, yet he has trouble like saving people, and he's got like confidence issues and stuff like that, and like his ability to like, yeah, and it's just like why, like stop trying to copy Marvel with this whole like reluctant but powerful superhero like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Batman, Flash type of dynamic. Like we don't need to see that, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, he's like a new character to the movie. We haven't seen him in any other form of DC movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of falls flat for an introduction, at least.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he in Suicide Squad just for that one little bit with Captain Boomerang? Or am I making that up?
I think you're making that up, because there was another villain with the team, and he kind of blew up. He died.
No. And like
I know Batman for sure is in that movie.
Mm-hmm. It was in the intro sequence where like he's like robbing a bank, and then like he's like, yeah, I'm getting away, and then all of a sudden the Flash shows up and he's like,
oh
no.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which like,
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and so like you have that where like he's stopping bad guys from robbing banks and everything, yet he can't save some people like who are in danger. Like he could easily get them away because he's so fast, like so much faster than everyone else. So again, it's just this weird disconnect, like inconsistencies with character developments, stuff like that. And it's just like I don't understand how they can fumble it so hard between just a few movies. But anyway, so he's at this dog walking center, and you get to see him like he's walking in, and then like some other chick is walking out, and they kind of like have like a little intimate moment with each other or whatever, and they're kind of just like, hey, and she just like, hey, like but only with their eyes, you know. And
well, that is supposed to be his significant other in the DC universe, because that's somebody that's like Superman's Lois Lane,
Yeah.
essentially, because in the comics, that woman that he was looking at is, like I said, his significant other in the comics, but she wasn't really necessary to the plot of the story, so we didn't really need her.
Yeah. Like, this whole scene basically is just to set up the fact that this is a different Flash than from the 2017 cut. Like, he knows how to save people. Like, it's a good introduction to his power set too, because the woman leaves, gets into her car, and then it cuts to this truck driver who like is eating a burger, and then he drops it, and he's driving this big old like delivery truck as he's trying to grab this burger. And as the Flash is talking to the manager or whatever of this dog walking place, he looks back and they meet eyes as she's driving away. And because she's looking at him and not paying attention to the road, she hits the back end of the trailer of the delivery truck, which causes this like potentially horrible crash that could have happened. But the Flash, being the Flash, like the actual Flash, not 2017 Flash, he literally like goes super speed, goes like harnesses the Speed Force and saves this chick. Like, you see him literally go so fast he ripped his feet out of his shoes.
Well, and you see my favorite part. Obviously, I do not care for the style, like you said every time we watch the movie. I do not care for his style of running.
Yeah, that's something.
It's kind of goofy.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. Like, I will go on record saying, Ezra Miller's Flash. Like, I think he looks the part and he acts the part. It's just the fact that the running looks stupid, utterly stupid. Like, he's just like flinging his arms in front of him.
God awful.
He has like a really wide gait, like when he runs and everything. And like, I get that like he's like trying to go really fast and everything, but like all they had to do was use that one effect in either from the Flash TV show or the cartoons, where like you just see like a red streak, like a red and yellow streak or whatever. And like you can add in like the electrical like Speed Force currents and everything like that along with that. But I just think it looks so ridiculous. Anytime like you see him like literally like leaning at it like a 45-degree angle and like throwing his arms up, like it looks so stupid in my opinion.
But anyway, I like the whole idea of, like you said, he went so fast he ripped his shoes pretty much. But when he literally basically points his finger and it like wraps the glass around his finger, and then all of a sudden it shatters. I just thought that was super dope.
Oh yeah, like that was really well put together. Like, I want to know like how they like managed to like generate that glass to look like that, like almost look like a liquid, but at the same time like it cracked and then it broke. Like that was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And then he breaks through the glass, and then he like stops himself like as he approaches the crash happening. And like again, you get to see just the extent of how powerful and like how fast he's going, because when he stops himself, his feet literally tear apart the pavement as he's stopping. And he does this weird thing where he like caresses her cheek or something as she's like moving ever so slowly above him, and like he just kind of stares at her. I thought personally that was a little weird, but like I can definitely tell what Zack Snyder is like going for right there. Personally, I just think it was a little bit odd.
It was.
Yeah.
It definitely was.
He does this thing where he reaches for a hot dog too, because again, it's some like food delivery truck, and he reaches for a hot dog and reaches into his pocket, and I was just like, what? Like when I first saw it, I was like, that's a bit odd, but okay. And then like he crosses this chick's arms and like lays her down on the pavement, and then time goes back to normal and she's safe, and they kind of had this like moment with each other where it's just like, bruh, you just saved my life. And he's just like, oh.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, Uncle Aaron.
God, I love that movie.
He will be missed. We gotta talk about Spider-Verse sometime, bro.
Dog.
It's gotta happen. But again, that's a story for another day. But yeah, he
Justice League.
Barry realizes he's like, oh, like she knows, like she saw me use my powers, like I gotta go. And so he like zips back into the yawning shop.
Oh,
No, the dog walking center. And he sits down with the rest of the dogs and he's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like in times of crisis, like you never know what's going to happen in the city. So I always be sure to bring a meat snack with me to make sure the dogs are all right. Do I start on Monday? Or something like that. Now just like, okay, sure. You do you.
Okay.
Okay. And then after that, it cuts to parademons abducting more Atlanteans for Steppenwolf, who eventually find the location of the second mother box. So this was actually a really dope scene because you got to see, again, Steppenwolf interrogating the people the parademons are bringing to him. And then, like, you see this guy, he's like, I will never tell you. I will never betray my people or whatever. And then, like, Steppenwolf literally takes this guy, throws him like a sack of potatoes against a rock, and then like you see the rock like tear into this guy's back for like a solid like 2 seconds, and then he slumps down. You see the blood left from that mark. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's pretty intense.
Yeah. And then like Steppenwolf has this like mechanical spider thing that like he yawns for him. No,
it projects
what they're thinking.
Yeah, he projects what they're thinking, like what he's looking for, and he's like, "You already have." He's like, "Sheesh." And so, yeah, like again, that's just another example of how Steppenwolf logically finds this information. Like he just doesn't show up because he's like, "Oh, let me check in Atlantis. Let me check this random spot in Atlantis. Oh, how lucky that was. I found it, what I was looking for." But no, you get to see, like, yeah, he's using his resources, aka the parademons, to find out this information. And it's just like, why was this cut? Like,
exactly.
Why? I don't understand.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like
when we first saw it.
Yeah, WB could have been ahead of the game and launched like a good like 3 hour, because I think you could honestly cut this version of the movie down to 3 hours and it still like make total sense and be completely fine.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I feel like they could have been ahead of the game, like ahead of Marvel in this sense, and having like a long like superhero epic type of movie back in 2017, like 2 years before Endgame came out. A year before Infinity War came out, even. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But of course, because they were just trying to copy the Marvel formula and trying to have their movies be as kid-friendly as possible and fit into that two like at least under 2.5 hour time limit, they had to cut a whole bunch of stuff, and most of it was some stuff that like either helped character development or messed with the logic of the narrative. It's just stuff like that. You just gotta wonder like why. And so after that, you see Lois Lane back at her apartment grieving Superman, and I believe this is the scene where Lois is like looking in her room, and I believe this is where you get to see the pregnancy test that she had.
Oh yeah,
like,
I think
it's
so.
It's very like what's it called? Like ambiguous as to is it a positive test? Is it a negative test? Like, we don't know. And so that's something that like was a loose thread that Zack Snyder probably planned to answer eventually in his movies, but again, like, they were scrapped. So yeah, again, like, it's just like,
was nice.
Yeah, just stuff like that. You just gotta wonder why was it cut, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it just cuts to Batman and Wonder Woman again having that one moment where they're looking at the monitors and their hands touch, and because they're both trying to work the computer at the same time. They're like, "Oh, sorry, my bad," or whatever. It's just kind of like a cute little moment for them. But this next scene is one that I think perfectly encapsulates like the whole basis behind DC's heroes anyways. As in the fact that, like, so Cyborg, it cuts back to Cyborg, and he thinks back to that fateful night of his football win where
this was like the flashback scene.
Yeah, it's one of his flashback scenes where he was in the last like 7 seconds of the football game. They were down by like 2 or 3 points, and he just had to make that one touchdown for it to be the game-winning score and everything. And it cuts back to also a time where you get to see like the good side in him. Like, not only was he a good athlete, he's just an overall good person. And the fact that he tried to hack the school's grading system to help out one of his friends who lost their parents, and so she was orphaned, and so she couldn't really like have time to focus on school or anything. And so again, you get to see that humanity in him, and you get to see him win that football game, but at the same time, like, you see his mother in the stands, but you don't see his father. And that's what initiates like him talking with his mom, like, in the car, like, yeah, like, you gotta stop making up excuses for him, like, you're just as busy as he is, but you still make the time. And as she's looking over at him, like, talking to him or whatever, she gets distracted. It seems like seemed to be a running theme throughout this movie. She didn't see the car that was raging towards her from her left, and that fateful crash happens. She dies pretty much instantly, and Cyborg is basically dead. The only thing that's keeping him alive is the machines at this point in the hospital. And
yeah, I mean, he was like RoboCop style screwed up. I mean, he had nothing but like half his torso and an arm left.
Yeah,
it was pretty wicked.
Oh yeah. And at the same time, like, after it cuts back to them in the apartment, like in the present day, Silas is like, well, if you can barely look at me, at least you'll probably listen to me or whatever. And he leaves them his tape, like this audio tape. Product placement by Sony, by the way. Not the Flash. Cyborg goes over, picks it up, and listens to it. And Silas basically breaks down Cyborg in a scientist perspective. Like, he's looking at his son through the scope of a scientist and not his son at this point. Like, at least for this little small segment. And it just showcases how powerful Cyborg really is. Because, yeah, Superman has, like, ungodly strength, ungodly speed, heat vision, frost breath, and basically invincibility, and a host of other superpowers. But, like, Superman can't launch literally every nuke on the planet at the same time whenever he wants. He can't shift, like, global codes into, like, literally having the entire world be his oyster, you know, because, like, the Flash, or why do I keep saying the Flash? Cyborg can go anywhere in the world with absolutely no restrictions, like, at least with, like, technology. Like, if he goes to the United States, he could easily uproot the United States. Easily. And you got to see this example of him, like, being able to, like, look into the surveillance cameras, like, throughout the city and everything. And, like, he follows this one, I believe she was a maid or whatever, like, struggling to, like, take care of herself and her 2 kids. And then, like, he follows her out to this ATM, and he manipulates the bank that she was using in that ATM to give her enough money to help her support the kids. I think it was like $100,000, something like that. And so,
yeah, like a lottery or something.
Yeah, I remember that line from Silas. He was like, the trouble you'll have isn't with using your power, it's the fact of not using your power. Is like, in the wrong hands, someone could cause a lot of problems with that kind of reach and that kind of power. And like I was saying before, like, I think this scene perfectly encapsulates DC's mantra when it comes to their heroes, because Marvel, what their thing is with their heroes is like all of their most popular heroes are normal everyday people who just happen to have superpowers, and depending on their moral code or whatever, they use these superpowers for what they believe is for good. And it's just that struggle between living their normal everyday lives and also being the super fantastical, like, super being with superpowers. DC, on the other hand, most of their, like, all of their most popular heroes are these, like, otherworldly, like, gods. And, like, I guess the most relatable one could be Batman, and the fact that he's just a normal guy who went through some really tough stuff with seeing his parents get murdered when he was young. But the fact that he's, like, as dynamic as he is, like, he is one of the smartest people on the planet. He is considered to be the greatest detective on the planet. He knows countless different fighting styles, investigation, like, procedures and everything. Like, he is just an abnormally skilled human, like almost a metahuman in a way, with like above average intelligence. And
he's rich.
Yeah, that too. He's rich. So he can more than afford to do whatever he wants and get all the resources he can get to do what he needs to do.
Exactly.
And then you got Superman, who, like I said before, has a whole smorgasbord filled with powers that, like, if any other person had any one of those powers, could be a formidable threat against any one of the Marvel heroes. And so, like, again, like, it just shows you, like, the struggle of, like, having all of this power and also trying to balance out that with your humanity, you know?
Oh yeah, like Ben Parker once said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. And that can honestly be shared between, like, that mantra can be shared between both Marvel and DC characters. It's just the fact, again, like, the individuals themselves. Like, again, Marvel's mostly just normal everyday people who just happen to get superpowers. And then DC's heroes are just, like, these, like, forces of, like, like these not forces of nature, just like gods, basically, like, just gods who just have all of this power. And again, like, it's just the struggle of how do you use that power for the betterment of humanity, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, that struggle. And so I thought that scene was really interesting in that way. But
I
what?
dug
Go
that
ahead.
scene. Sorry. Were you about to cue into the next chapter of this story?
No, I was actually going to go ahead and segue into an ad break just so we can get a little break for ourselves and so we can help promote the wonderful sponsors that we have for the channel. Surprisingly, even though we're just starting out, we do have sponsors.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's official. We made it.
Oh, yeah.
With one episode.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're still trying to get all the kinks worked out and everything. But, yeah, we are going to go ahead.
Like you said, it gives us a break. We've been talking for a little bit. We need a drink break. We need to stand up, do stuff like that. But it also gives you a break, the audience member, because if you've been sitting here listening to us go on about this movie, honestly, if you've made it this far into the podcast, we really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Because all this hard work we've been trying to put into making a podcast we're trying our best. And if you're sticking through it this far on our first podcast, go you. Like, this is
go
you're fucking amazing, okay?
You're
So, yeah, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna give you guys a break, and I guess we're gonna have an advertisement play here in just a second. So,
yep. All right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and segue into the advertisement. We'll see y'all in a second. Alrighty, we're going to take a minute to shout out the wonderful people over at Anchor.fm. They are the entire reason you're hearing this podcast on either Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you might be listening to this that's not on YouTube. Anchor allows for people to quickly and seamlessly put together their own podcasts by either uploading the audio of the episode or by recording your show straight from the browser itself. Anchor also has a mobile app allowing you to record podcast episodes right from your phone. Anchor also has a wide selection of transitions and songs to help you spice up your podcast, and since they're owned by Spotify, you're able to link your Spotify account to Anchor and you'll be able to pick songs from your own playlist if you so choose. Now, the real kicker for this service is that it's pretty much the one-stop shop to put your podcast on services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and many more. Once you go through the process of recording your episode and filling out all of the necessary information, Anchor will take your episode and distribute it out on all of the major streaming platforms and more completely for free. Yes, that's right, free. And if you want to take your show to the next level or just want to try to get some extra pocket change on the side, you can sign up with Anchor's sponsorship program and get paid every time someone listens to your podcast episodes. Anchor will try its best to find sponsors for you that fit your style of content, and if all else fails, they will sponsor you themselves, still allowing you to get paid. All this is also free. So, if you're interested in starting your own podcast and want to make sure you're heard, head over to Anchor.fm to sign up and make your dreams a reality like me and Zach did. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back at the show. And we're back. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Andrew and Zach at the NitPickCentral podcast. Welcome back from that ad break. Thank you so much for listening. Hope everyone had enough time to go ahead and get a good stretch in, maybe get a glass of water, grab some popcorn, whatever you like. And we are going to go ahead and continue on with talking through Zack Snyder's Justice League. You ready, Zach?
Grind this out, baby. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
We're back.
All right. So, as we were saying before, we were talking about Cyborg and everything, but and his father discussing his powers. But after that, it cuts to the Flash, who meets his father in prison, where they discuss Barry's job and college situation. So basically, Barry's trying to work all of these menial jobs, trying to fund his college career in criminal justice, so he can help get his father out of prison, because he supposedly was framed for the murder of Barry's mother. And of course, Barry doesn't think that, and so he's trying to get his dad out of prison, all of that. And so it's just a really good introduction to the Flash. And honestly, if they didn't cut, or if they did cut that first scene with the Flash at the dog walking center, I think this would have been a great introduction to his character anyway, just because we get to see like what his motivations are and everything. And
it's
then
more raw instead of just straight up showing you, yep, he can run fast.
Yeah. And it's a good thing too, because after that, after he talks with his dad, and his dad basically says like, look, like, I get what you're trying to do, like, I'm grateful, but like, just stop, like, give it up, like, I'm a drag on your life, like, I don't want you to like be chasing me your whole life and end up like me or something like that. And so after he leaves, he goes back to his place, and that's where Batman like infiltrates his like place, and that's where they have like a little one-on-one together. And that's where Batman throws a batarang to kind of test out like what exactly the Flash can do, because he sees this suit that he has, and he's like, oh yeah, it's made of this certain material that
ice skating.
Yeah,
competitive ice skating.
Very competitive ice skating. And he's like, yeah, this is the same material they put on the front of shuttles in space so they don't burn up on re-entry. And he's like, uh-oh. And so Batman like has his back turned to him, then he flicks around, like tosses the batarang, and then like you get to see the Flash like go into the Speed Force again. And I think this would have been a really good moment for not only Batman to see the Flash's powers for the first time, but it would have been a really good analog for the audience too, to see the Flash's powers for the first time too. You know?
Oh yeah, like we were talking about. If it would have started with him in the prison with his dad, and then immediately cut over to that with Batman, and it showed off his powers that way, as opposed to saving what's her name, trying to get a job at the same time, that would have been totally okay.
Yeah. But again, like, all of the other stuff is just stuff that Zack Snyder thought was necessary, and it's not necessarily necessary, but it's also like, it's good to see. Like, it's just more good stuff, basically. Like, it's more stuff to like enhance his character development, and it's just good to see. But again, like, I feel like that scene could have been either cut down or cut entirely. But again, like, Zack Snyder's vision, Zack Snyder should do what Zack Snyder thinks he should do. And yeah, Batman recruits the Flash, and like they talk, and he's like, "What's your superpower again?" And he's like, "I'm rich." And then, like, I mean, granted, his car is pretty smacking. Not gonna lie, like, I don't even, like, I'm not a car guy, but nice. Yeah, I'm not a car guy, but that is a car I would like to have.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah. But yeah, after that, it cuts. Oh, what was that?
Didn't mean to interrupt. We were saying, yeah, baby. I figured I ought to add that in there.
Oh, solid. But anyway, so it cuts to Wonder Woman and Alfred back at the Batcave, just kind of making small talk. He's showing her how to make tea or whatever. And they look over some upgrades that Alfred has for Ratman, which has like these like energy.
Did you just call him Ratman?
Ratman and Bobbin. See what I did there?
Yes, I did, and I like it. I like it a lot. Ratman and Bobbin.
But yeah, Alfred has some upgrades for Batman, and it has these like energy, like absorption type properties, where like it hits it, and like it like absorbs into it, and then like it dissipates at the same time, so like it doesn't hurt Batman, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then you get to see Cyborg actually hacking in to the Bat computer to tell Wonder Woman, like, hey, like, yo, come meet me here if you want to talk to me so bad. And so she meets up with Cyborg, and they have like a little one-on-one, and she's like, yeah, like, I understand, like, I don't know, like, what exactly happened, but like, what's done is done, and like, you have these gifts, and so you need to use them. Like, he's like, what part of this do you think is a gift or whatever? And so like, you can definitely tell like he's not comfortable. He's like, he's not necessarily okay with his condition, even though he's more knowledgeable of his like power set now. He's still just kind of like I'm a monster, and like he's just not comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah, literally.
And with that, he flies off and then ends up burying the mother box, like the box of man, in his grave, because people think he's dead along with his mother, and so it's honestly the perfect spot to hide something of that significance, you know.
Oh yeah.
As I'm yawning again. But yeah, after that it cuts to Silas back at Star Labs with the electron laser, not laser, Jesus Christ. Laser. Yeah, it cuts to the electron laser, and according to I believe it was Ryan Choi, who was like the assistant or whatever.
Speaking of Ryan Choi,
oh,
y'all know who that is?
Who is it, Zach?
Do you know who it is?
Tell him who it is, Zach.
Okay, I'll tell him, cause that's my job.
Oh yeah.
He, if they ever go through with it, and if you're a keen-eyed DC fan, me and Andrew are real good at spotting Easter eggs in movies because we're massive nerds for this stuff. But Ryan Choi is supposed to be the Atom in the DC universe, which is basically Ant-Man in the DC universe. Like, almost exactly the same. For people that don't know who Atom is. It's awesome.
Yeah,
but
again, it's just...
I like that little nod, that little Easter egg there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just, again, Zack Snyder's way of introducing new characters into this large universe that he's trying to build up. Yeah, he introduces Silas to this one electron laser that apparently, once it like hits its target, it'll instantly like turn up the like thermodynamics of whatever object it hit, which would instantly make it one of the hottest, if not the hottest things on the entire planet, which would make it really easy for like thermal detectors like on satellites and everything to detect it, which is again another piece of the puzzle that Zack Snyder is like slowly creeping in, because this is going to be important later on in the movie. Yeah, so after
foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. So after that, Silas heads back home. He sees that the tape that he left for Cyborg is broken, and he then gets abducted by a parademon, because again, he has the center of the mother box, because not only is his son basically made of one, he interacted with it, and like him interacting with the mother box is the whole reason Cyborg is alive anyways. And we'll learn more about that later in the movie, but we also get to have a little glimpse of that in Batman v Superman, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, after that it cuts to Commissioner Gordon, who is in GCPD, who's like looking over all the reports of all the parademon attacks and abductions and everything, and some detectives are giving him sketches of like the same ones that look like Batman, and he's like, or one of the detectives is like, you know what this looks like, right? And he's like, of course I know what it looks like. But like, there's no way it's him. Like they're referring to Batman. There's like he's been doing this for 20 years, and all of a sudden he just ends up abducting people. Like, no, I'm gonna have to have
massive sketch.
Like, imagine saying imagine being in that situation, like being able to say, yeah, I'm gonna just go talk to this guy. Like, that's pretty badass.
The balls on this guy.
The balls on this man.
Oh.
So yeah,
yes.
After that, it cuts to Parademons dropping off Silas underneath Stryker's Island in that one spot. And then, again, it cuts to Batman yawning and going to bed. It cuts to Batman and Flash meeting up with Wonder Woman for the first time. And this is where you get to see, for some reason, like, the Flash's creepy crush on Wonder Woman. Like,
yeah,
I totally get it.
that.
Like, Gal Gadot is muy caliente. But, like, if you could tone it down just a tad bit, that would be great. But that's just me. I thought it was a little cringe. Not gonna lie.
It was. Oh, no, it was indeed.
Yeah. So after that, it cuts to Steppenwolf arriving to Atlantis to retrieve that mother box. And this is actually a really cool scene because you get to see Mira, who's played by Amber Heard, who, if you know what she's been doing these past couple of months, we don't like Amber Heard. But
no, we don't like her one bit.
No. But she's all right in this movie. I mean, she plays her role well. She doesn't do anything spectacular. She just does her thing and dips. But yeah, she like manipulates the water in such a way that like she has just a total mastery over the water in Atlantis, because she creates this like,
wasn't it like a bubble or something?
Yeah, she creates this like bubble around like the pedestal that the mother box is sitting on. So then that makes Steppenwolf like fall to the ground. And then like, so she has some leverage on that. And then he eventually like gets up to her and starts like choking her out and everything. And like she creates another bubble like around them. And she raises up her hand like as Steppenwolf is like choking her out. He raises up her hand and she's literally pulling the water out of his system. And like, not only is she pulling the water out of his system, she's pulling the blood out of his body. And so
it was insane.
Yeah, like that is like as savage of a reverse card as it could get.
Spooky.
Very spooky. Because at first he's like, yeah, I got this in the bag, just on my puny Atlantean. And then all of a sudden, like, he's getting a water and blood poured out of his face. He's like, no. And then, like, tosses her aside like she's like a piece of garbage or whatever. I mean, because Amber Heard is garbage. But, yeah. So he almost chops Mara in half if it weren't for the fact that Arthur comes in and like saves her and like does his like whole thing where he has his like character moments where he gets in a good few punches against Steppenwolf. But eventually like Steppenwolf does get the better of him and steals the mother box and makes way with it. And after that happens, like Aquaman and Mira have this like really good like character dynamic moment where again, like she's like trying to talk to him about like returning to Atlantis, like stepping up into the role of king, and like trying to fix the troubles down in Atlantis, so then the troubles up on the surface won't be like as affected. Because like, you just got to imagine if like Darkseid would have won, like obviously the Earth would have been like destroyed first off.
Oh yeah.
But like, again, like should they have survived, like they would have been in shambles anyway, you know. So
oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, again, it's just planting those seeds again, like I keep saying, for Aquaman, like his own solo movie. And
Very
again,
nice touch, by the way.
Very nice touch. Like Zack Snyder, like he knows what he's doing. Like again, like he can go a little overboard sometimes, but again, that's just his like personal directorial style, which is all good. But I don't necessarily need to agree with it, and I don't some of the times. And this is one of the times where I think it's fine.
That's where we come in, baby. Nitpick Central podcast.
Yes, sir.
Gotta plug it.
Gotta plug it. But yeah, let's see. So after that, it cuts to Cyborg going back into his apartment and discovers that his father is missing. And then it cuts back to Steppenwolf speaking with DeSaad about the third mother box. And like, it's kind of like a repetitive scene in a way, because like he's just going over the same information we learned before. He's like, yeah, like I got the second mother box, and now my parademons are like trying to get the scent of the last one so we can get it and form the unity so Darkseid can come back and do his thing. It's like, we already knew about this, but you know what?
Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. And so after that, it cuts to part 4, which is labeled Change Machine. And it starts off with Commissioner Gordon meeting up with Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and eventually Cyborg after he shows up.
Oh, but you forgot the quippy comedy scene when they get off the jet with the bat signal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so y'all don't necessarily know Zach like I do, but there's this one moment where Batman and the Flash get off of his, like, Batman's jet and meet up with Wonder Woman, like I said earlier, and you see the bat signal, like, from Commissioner Gordon, right? And then the Flash is like, oh my god, like, yo, like, that's so cool, like, that's your thing. And then he, like, realizes, like, he's saying that aloud. He's like, oh, like, yo, like, that's your thing. And then Batman's like, yeah, that's what that means. Or something like that. And, like, it's just a total Zack moment right there. Like, once y'all, like, tune into more episodes and everything, like, if you go back and watch that scene, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys, like I said, like he said, if you guys tune in long enough, you guys will eventually see what he's talking about, because I'm trying to keep most of my personality that I have outside of this podcast, kind of outside of this podcast, but then again, it's eventually gonna bleed into this podcast, and
you guys will see. It's not fine and dandy like what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah!
Oh. Okay.
Oh, sorry. If I blew your guys' eardrums out, that's only just to wake you up, because I know one of you guys out there, that one viewer that's out there is asleep right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't fly by the seat of my pants here. I don't like people sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
If you couldn't have already told, or if you couldn't already tell, when Andrew yawns, I get a little upset. So
upset.
I don't like sleepers.
I'm upset.
I'm upset.
Oh, Lord. But anyway, so Commissioner Gordon meets with Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Cyborg eventually, and they're just kind of like talking through this game plan or whatever, and then they eventually find out, like, yo, like, it all like triangulates to Stryker's Island, so they go underneath Stryker's Island, and they have these like moments where like you get to see like each one of their like power sets or whatever. throughout this fight, like against Steppenwolf and the rest of the parademons. But like at the same time, like they're individual moments, but they're fighting together, and that's something again that I think the 2017 version lacked. And like that's even something that the Flash in the movie said. He's like, because at first they weren't fighting all together because Cyborg kind of flew in at Steppenwolf because Steppenwolf was basically about to destroy Silas, and he's like, no, and so he propels in with his like jets and everything, like shoots him with his like arm cannon, and like again, like they're not fighting together like as a team, they're just fighting as separate people. And then the Flash is like, guys, like this isn't together or something like that. And that's when they start to like mix and match like combos, and like they're like tag teaming some people, and it's a really good fight scene. And then the part where Wonder Woman like leads the charge against Steppenwolf, like as they go like higher and higher in the plant.
Hear that goddamn theme?
Yeah.
Or sorry, you hear that Wonder Woman theme again.
Oh yeah, that's probably like the 5th or 6th time you hear it by that point. I may be overshooting that a bit, but I think that's pretty accurate.
Yes.
So yeah, you get to hear that wonderful theme that Zach loves so much again.
Very much.
But yeah, they eventually like go back down like underneath like Gotham Harbor again, and that's where Batman has his, I think it was the Rattler or something like that, the Rattler, which is like some like big like mech thing that Batman built in the Batcave, and it was powered by Alfred, by the way. And he shoots this like missile, and like Steppenwolf like catches this missile, like kind of like the Hulk does. Like he literally catches the missile and then like he redirected it so it like slammed into the wall, and that allowed him to escape, but it also like flooded the tunnel they were in, and so it could have killed them if it weren't for the fact that Aquaman, realizing that he needs to help these people like for a greater cause other than himself, so he can save both his world and the world he's interested in. And yawns is so much that he's interested in.
Which is the first time we see him team up with the Justice League, too.
Yeah, it's the first time we get to see him team up with the League. And he like slams his mother's trident onto the ground so he can like kind of like hold back the water for as long as he can, so that allow to the League to escape. And then after that, like after like everyone's like relatively safe and not necessarily out of this tunnel yet, we see Cyborg like fly out of like nowhere, and like what? And we later find out he went to the graveyard he buried the mother box at, the box of man at, to then bring back, so then they themselves can protect it, because at this point Steppenwolf has 2 mother boxes now, and so they need to be like super careful. And so yeah, after that it cuts back to Steppenwolf putting in the second mother box into the metal slab over in the base that he has, and he sees like he gets like teleported, or he sees a premonition, one of the two, of him like in the same general area Darkseid was in the story Wonder Woman was like, oh my goodness.
Are you good, my guy?
Oh, I'm good. I just been talking a while, and my oxygen level is dropping. But we're all good. We're still pumping some O2 over here. But it's all good. Anyway. So yeah, then he like slams his axe on the ground, and you get to see the anti-life equation that Darkseid has been looking for. And so later, Steppenwolf like contacts DeSaad about it, and he's like, yeah, I found like the anti-life equation on Earth, like, and I found the world that Darkseid had lost, like the only world Darkseid had ever lost in his conquest of the multiverse was Earth. And then that gets the attention of Darkseid himself, who like gets to be a part of this like whole like metal like mother box like configuration thing of like talking, and gets to talk to Steppenwolf directly, and like he honestly gives him an honest chance. He's like, yeah, go ahead and like just continue what you're doing, or something along those lines. And yeah, so like it gives like Steppenwolf that hope. He's like, okay, yeah, I actually keep doing what I'm doing, and then I'll be back in good graces with Darkseid, and I could rule by his side, or something like that. And so it gives him further motivation to continue his conquest, like continue his mission. So then after that, it goes to the League meeting at the Batcave to discuss Steppenwolf, the Mother Boxes, and the history of the Box of Man. And the reason this happens is because they're all just like at this round table, and they're talking about like the Mother Boxes and like how they work and everything. And then Aquaman's like to Cyborg, he's like, yo, you know a lot about these boxes, makes you think. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, well, I mean, how do we know you're not working for them? And so Cyborg goes on this whole separate like story explaining like the history of the Box of Man, like the Nazis found it in World War II, and then it just got shipped around the world basically until eventually it got picked up by Star Labs. And Silas Stone, who was like studying this, he found like the link between the Mother Box and the technology of the Kryptonian ship after Superman like made his appearance back in Man of Steel, and after the events of Batman v Superman, obviously found that link between the two, which was why like again Silas has that strong connection to the Mother Box. And so they kind of like talk about the Mother Box in a way of like it doesn't necessarily see life as dead or living, it just kind of like exists. And so it brings back like the necessary properties basically for something to exist again. And so they made it like they kind of put it like this: when a house burns, it the house technically still exists. It's just the fact that the house has become particles of smoke and particles of ash. And they're like the box, like the Mother Boxes, can turn that house, like those particles of smoke and particles of ash, back into a house. And then the camera, after they say that, just keeps on like circling the League, like going back and forth between all the members. And the Flash is like, who's gonna say it?
Y'all know what I'm thinking.
Y'all know what I'm thinking. Who's gonna say it? I ain't gonna say it. Someone gotta say it.
Nobody said it, but
no one said it, but it was pretty much anonymous or unanimous what they were talking about. Bringing back Superman.
Of course.
And so after that, it cuts to Lois Lane in her apartment again, and we get to see Martha Kent show up unexpectedly, and they kind of just talk about like their collective grief over losing Superman. Like Martha literally raised his kid as if he was her own, and to her he is her own kid, despite the fact that he's a literal god coming from a planet light years away from Earth. But again, like she raised him, and Lois, like Superman was one of the only people she ever like really had an intimate, loving relationship with. And so the fact that he was ripped from both of them so quickly was just devastating for them. And like we come to find out that Lois hasn't been going to work at all because she just can't stand the emotional weight of the fact that like Clark's not there anymore and everything. And
yeah,
so,
it's just kind of rough on both of them, honestly.
Yeah. And so Martha's like, yeah, like I totally get it and everything. Like you are like, you yourself are important. Like you need to do what's right for yourself. Like you need to pick yourself back up, and like you just need to like not forget, but like take it in.
Focus on yourself.
Yeah, focus on yourself and like try to recover in a healthy way and stuff. Something along those lines. I can't really remember right now. It's kind of foggy. But after they have that talk, Martha steps out, and before she leaves, she ends up like morphing, and we come to find out that the person who was actually talking to Lois Lane was Martian Manhunter.
What a reveal.
What a reveal. And again, it's like, it's one of those things Zack Snyder put in the movie to really incorporate like new characters into this larger universe he's trying to build. But again, like hindsight being 2020, like it's almost not necessarily useless, but it's like it's just something that's not going to go anywhere as far as we know as of right now, because like again, Martian Manhunter, like as far as we know, he's not going to get any movies. They're not going to be going forward with Snyder's version or the Snyderverse, quote unquote, for the DCEU.
Well, apparently Martian Manhunter's character has been in the DCEU for a while now. Because as soon as he turns into Martian Manhunter, he morphs into a army general when he walked out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And that army general is the army general that was attacking Zod in Man of Steel in that small town.
Right.
And when he morphed into that, I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's been here a while. So you can kind of see what his morals is. He's wanting Superman back too, because he knows Superman can definitely hold a giant pivoting point for the Justice League in winning the battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
He's kind of like a side character, just trying to help out the main characters without them knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and like we come to find out like at the end of the movie, he's talking with Batman at this point, and he's like, yeah, like I know that like I have a part in this like battle too. Like the battle's not over with, it's only just begun with Darkseid. Like he's gonna come back, and like you're gonna need all the help you can get. And Batman's just basically like, okay.
Oh yeah.
John. And so yeah, so like again, like it's good, or it's interesting that he's there. Again, it's just kind of one of those things that feels just a little bit shoehorned in, and that feeling is kind of doubled in a way, just because again, like it's probably not going to go anywhere at this point. But I mean, Zack Snyder does what Zack Snyder does, I guess.
Indeed.
Indubitably. But yeah, that leads us into the last scene of this part, where the League basically discusses the ethics of reviving Superman. So like, does he even want to be like revived? Like if we revive him, is he even going to be the same person? Like we don't know like how exactly like Kryptonian biology is going to react to the mother boxes and like the charge that Barry has to like actually like jumpstart it and everything. And so like everything's just really up in the air. And so I remember in the 2017 cut, Wonder Woman was actually the one who was like super against like reviving Superman. She's like, no, like let this man like rest and everything. And then in this one it was mostly Aquaman and Cyborg who had the most like apprehension about reviving Superman. They were just like,
I do remember that,
like,
now that you pointed it out.
Yeah, like I remember Aquaman said like life isn't like, you can't be both. Like life is either 0 or 1. Like you're either dead or you're not. Like there's no in between. And so, and he's like trying to mess with that. Like who knows what's gonna happen? And it's just like, it's really interesting to see like that kind of like a conversation to be had like between these heroes and everything. And like their decision making, and like again, like all of this is leading up to the fact that like they need Superman. Like yeah, like he's like at peace right now, but like they need Superman because like without him the team isn't complete. And like that's kind of where they all kind of congregate like, towards like that idea.
Agree.
Yeah. It's like there is like I remember Batman said there is not 5, there's 6. There's no team without him, or something. Like there's no us without him. And so that's just kind of
remember that.
Yeah, that's just kind of like and honestly like it's kind of talking to the audience in a way, because it's like making sure they know like, yeah, like Superman, like yeah, it's like Zack Snyder's talking to the audience in a way, because it's like, yeah, like you didn't really like Superman in Man of Steel, you didn't really like him in Batman vs Superman, and some of the older movies were kind of like made him out to be like kind of cringe or whatever, but like Superman is like the guy. He is the superhero. Like he is probably one of the most recognizable superheroes of all time worldwide,
literally.
And like his importance to the comics, like the DC universe and the comics, and in this universe, like cannot be overstated like in any stretch, because like he is integral for the universe to like flow, and like he's the it boy, you know, like he's the guy you go to when you read DC. He's the guy you go to like rely on to help save the world, because like not only does he have the power and ability to save the world, he has the drive and the want to do it, because this is where he grew up, this is his home, and he's going to do it. And again, this is Zack Snyder saying like, yeah, I get it, like Superman is a very important character, not only to me but to you guys, so I'm gonna make sure you get to see that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a really, really powerful scene. It's a great way to like segue into kind of like the calm before the storm, in a way, before the final battle, because not much really happens in part 5, but we will actually get there in part 2 of this podcast, just because we have been talking for almost 3 hours now, and if you can't already tell, I am just a tad bit tired, and I can tell probably Zach is starting to get a little bit on the drowsy side too.
Yeah, usually when I get super quiet like I have been for like the past 30 minutes, that usually means I'm getting a bit on the sleepy side.
Yeah. So
we are, by the time you guys watch this, it's probably like middle of the day, or maybe you're watching this while you're going to bed too, or maybe you're just listening to this while you're driving, you know, anything really. But for us, we're recording this early in the morning, like 2 in the morning right now.
Oh yeah. You gotta love the grind.
we're definitely on that grind. We're trying to get as much content out to you guys as possible, whether it be at 2 in the morning or 5 in the afternoon, no matter what, we're going to be on that grind to get you that grade A quality content.
Of course. Well, I think that just about wraps up this episode of the Nitpick Central podcast. Again, this is part 1 of our Justice League, or Zack Snyder's Justice League movie review, and part 2 will be
definitely
up
appreciate
after.
You guys tuning in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wherever you might be listening, whether it be YouTube, SoundCloud, and eventually either Spotify or Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts at. Be sure to give us a follow and rating if you like what we're putting out, and drop a comment to tell us what you'd like us to talk about next. All of our social media pages should be down in the description, but be sure to hit us up on our Twitter and Instagram at NitPickCentral, where you can interact with us. And again, let us know what you'd like to see, because we're trying to be as community driven as possible, like we said in our intro video that we have out on our YouTube channel, which is again Nitpick Central. We also have a Patreon up if you'd like to support us directly, but if not, that's totally fine. It's like absolutely totally up to you if you'd like to contribute like that or not. You do, like, with Patreon benefits, you'd receive ad-free and early access to episodes of the podcast, get to see exclusive content from the both of us, and be able to take part in a monthly AMA exclusive to Patreon supporters, with tiers starting out at $1. But again, this is totally optional.
Right. That's a deal you literally cannot pass up. $1, ladies and gentlemen.
$1.
$1.
With just $1,
what's stopping you?
You instantly get access to ad-free and what was the other one? Oh my god.
Uncut, never before seen, raw, unedited, untouched footage.
Ad-free and early access to episodes of the podcast. That's at the $1 tier, and we only have 2 other tiers after that, and they cost $3 to $5. Like, second tier costs $3, third tier costs $5. But again, like, it's totally optional. You don't need to do it if you don't have to. It's totally there if you want to. It's not mandatory. Before we go, again, we just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's listening up to this point. And again, this is our part 1 of Zack Snyder's Justice League movie review. Part 2 will be up soon. And yeah, with that, this has been Andrew and Zach here at the Nitpick Central podcast. Thank you so much again for listening. And we're signing out. Have a good one.